Okay. Yes, today we're having a panel discussion with 3 different filmmakers. The discussion is about YouTube versus cinema. In general, it's going to be a discussion about film distribution with 3 filmmakers, Loukman Ali, Patience Nitumwesiga, and Eleanor Nabwiso. These are 3 different filmmakers with diverse sensibilities, so I hope this is going to be a great discussion. Yesterday, we had a panel with filmmakers that talked about uptown versus downtown films. And one of the conversations that came up was distribution. So this panel will somewhat be a continuation of yesterday's conversation about film and distribution among filmmakers. I'll ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves and highlight their filmographies as well. Let's start with Eleanor Nabwiso. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eleanor Nabwiso. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a director, producer, and an actress above all. And I should say I'm a labeled multi-winning, award-winning actress and producer at that, also a director. And in the past, I've worked on projects like Rain, Bed of Thorns, Prickly Roses, Heartbeat, The Hostel, As Far as the Eyes Can See. My list of movies is endless, but I'm currently working on a series called Sanyu Series, of which I'm producing and also being a part of as an actress. I'm happy to be here with the Ngalabi Short Festival.
Great to have you. We spoke to you, Patience, a bit yesterday about your film, which screened, but could you introduce yourself to anyone who did not get to hear from you? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Patience Nitumwesiga. I'm a writer and director. I've made a few short films, some web series, and worked in television for a bit. I'm glad to be here.
Great to have you. Loukman Ali, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Loukman Ali. I am a filmmaker. I've made a couple of short films and a feature film. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, yeah, Loukman's film also showed in the festival, The Blind Date. It showed in the first day. Yes, so we're going to talk about the distribution channels that you 3 have been using. So as filmmakers who have been doing this work for a while now, could you each talk to us about experiences you've had showcasing your films and or TVs on different platforms, and specifically what you've preferred in this time that you've been showcasing your films? We'll start with you, Eleanor.
I preferably worked with online platforms. Why? Because first of all, the copyright law in Uganda is not really strong enough. So I don't trust to have my movies sold in Uganda yet, although I've considered selling just a few in the movie libraries here, but that's after making quite some money outside Uganda. So for the content we create as Nabwiso Films, we believe in selling it on online platforms because then our return on investment is high enough. So we've considered platforms like Showmax, iFlix, Afroland TV, and DSTV as well. So I believe with the online platforms, we make a lot more money back than selling DVDs here in Uganda. So those are most of the platforms we've used to sell my or our movie content.
How does that differ with TV? Because you have a TV series, have you had your movies also show on TV as well? Has that channel been something you've used?
So it's quite different when you sell online and when you sell on TV, because when you sell online, you kind of get to be paid per a certain number of views. So if we get over, let's say, 1,000 views or something, you get to share your percentages and the cost with the platform owners. So you come to an agreement of, let's say, 60-40, 70-30, and you get to get money into your hands every time you see your views go up. Unlike TV, where you have to sell maybe once, And when you sell it once on TV, you can agree to have it licensed to them for a period of, let's say, a few months, say 18 or 12 months, but you get paid once. And it doesn't matter how many views you get on TV, it's just that one down payment. So the more online platforms you sell to, the more money you get. I've been lucky to sell my content to MultiChoice, that is Power Magic Prime, and they get to pay you, well, non-exclusively, because then I can get to sell my content on other different platforms. So I think either way it works, depending on the time frame you have with your content. If you've made money back on the different platforms, then it's okay to sell it to TV, because then the views don't matter to you, but to the TV station. As long as you have a good bargain and you get back your money cut from the TV station. So it's different in a way that online platforms sometimes can be exclusive or non-exclusive, but also TV at the same time, it doesn't matter what kind of views you get, you still get that one down payment. Yet for the online platforms, you're going to get paid per view or per 1,000 views. So that's the difference.
My last question to you before I get to the rest of the panel. You've had some films also screen in the cinemas. I actually watched Bed of Roses in the National Theatre, and it also was screening at the main cinema. Could you talk about your experience also showing the films in the cinema? Is there direct, how has that gone for you as well?
So I should say first, I always like to say thank you to the people who watch my content, because it's really a blessing. We get to market our content and sell it to the cinemas here locally, because it's the first time we get to show Ugandans our content, and it's the best place to show your content in Uganda. That way, you know, there's no copyright chaos or anything else like dubbing. So with the cinema, we kind of get to sell tickets. And then, well, let's start with, we pay rent for the cinema. So you rent out the time you want to show your movie, and then we pay for it a certain amount of money, and then we get back from the ticket sales. So if you sell out, let's say the full cinema, all the money at the collection points is yours. So if you get entrances of over 150 people, all that money is yours to take. So I think it's still so far the best place to show your movie in Uganda, mostly for a premiere or a debut. And because then if you've marketed well and spread word out about your movie in time, you kind of get to fill up the cinema, and all the ticket sales money is yours. So yeah, that's the experience I've had with the cinemas here. Yeah, we happen to screen Bed of Thorns. People call it Bed of Roses, I don't know why. Yeah, and most of our movies anyway. We've happened to screen most of our movies in the cinemas here. It's our first, and we do for about 3 months at most before we can get onto the online platforms, because then in 3 months, we managed to cover most of the cinemas in Uganda and showed over maybe, let's say, maybe 6 to 7 times showing in 3 months. And then we consider online platforms after that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Patience, could you tell us also about the different platforms you've used to distribute your films so far?
For me, I think it depends on like what you want to achieve with a particular film, and that sort of informs where you take it. As a director, I like physical screenings because I get to engage with the audience and get, you know, that feedback and watch their faces as they go through the journeys of my characters. But, you know, if you're speaking as a producer, you want to make money. And, you know, like from the conversation that people were having yesterday, I don't think at the moment, I mean, for me that, you know, you'd make so much money from, you know, those kinds of physical screenings. I mean, if you're famous like Nabwiso, yes, you can fill up your cinema, but I was going to go for the Imperial Blue, what is it called, premiere, and you know, some colleagues said, you know, the cinema wasn't full. And I come from a theater background where I've had the experience of preparing a beautiful show. You put it up at the, you know, theaters and nobody shows up. You have like so few people in the audience. So I also know like our audience in Uganda is still struggling with keeping up with going to see stuff. So in that sense, I think if you want to make money, that's why I would go for online platforms. And like, I appreciate spaces like Showmax, which is basically like the Netflix of the continent, you know, and I think that makes sense for also reaching out to, you know, a bigger audience outside of just Uganda, you know, like finding your audience wherever they are. But of course, you know, it doesn't take away from those magical moments of being in a physical space and interacting with an audience.
Great. Your films also show quite a lot in festivals. How is that in terms of audience and reach? Do you ever get to come from a festival to a different screen and notice any differences there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, there's the thrill of just like watching different audiences interact with the film and how they pick on different themes, how they are interested in completely different things. So I love that. I love being in a space and seeing how, especially if there are Q&As, you know, at festivals, sometimes you're lucky to have that and have that, you know, sort of back and forth. But of course, I haven't made a feature film. So for me, it's very different. I haven't made money per se, that like not profits really from my films. So I have put it up on some, I mean, there's a few online platforms that are coming up. I know that Esteri and Samuel Tebandeke have Kiasi TV that's also picking up East African and African content. I know that Ali Musoke and some colleagues were also starting Matatu stages or something that was, you know, sort of using Bibanda and you know, combining a few of these platforms. So I think some of those spaces are cool. And to be honest, I don't think that our government is really interested in building that infrastructure. So for me, it's like cool to see people who are innovating those spaces, because not everybody can get the film on Showmax. And sometimes also Showmax doesn't pay well, you know, so it's good to see other people that are coming up with innovative ideas.
That's really great. Loukman Ali, could you tell us about your experience with showcasing your film on platforms, the platforms you've chosen?
I've worked with the cinema. To be honest, the cinema for me is the only way to watch movies. It's the only way, because there's just something about the cinema that I don't know. I think Patience has mentioned something about interacting with the audience as they watch your film. There's something special about that, and it's kind of why we do it actually. Like when you're an artist and you make an artwork, it's not for you to keep in your house. You want people to see it, and you want like to see how it influences them, and you know, things like that. So I feel like making films and then people watching them online, it kind of, there's a way, just it has kind of killed it for me, to be honest. I'm not as interested as I used to be in the whole thing. But my idea, I think online platforms are okay. They're good. There's so much now. There's so much noise around that you probably have to do. I don't know what you have to do to like penetrate and stand out. Before the lockdown, I was thinking that maybe we could try to do some road shows, you know, like you make a film and then you take it around the country, and like how musicians do it. You have a concert in every city. So you basically do the same thing, and you have people paying a fee to come and watch the film. And in my head, I mean, I haven't tried it out yet, but it felt like it could work. I mean, it works for musicians. It should be able to work for film as well. As Patience said, I also haven't made any profits from my films, but I think for me, it's because I haven't tried. I've been on a learning curve where I've been trying to learn how to make better films and perfect my art to a point where I feel like it's worth paying for. Currently, the way it is, I don't think it's there yet. I feel like I'm still like in film school, so once I get to a point where I feel like it's only fair that I get paid, compensated for it, I might try online platforms, because I feel like that's where the world is going now. And also the format of film is, I feel like it's changing. There's the crime anthology that I'm working on now. Originally was supposed to be a feature-length film. It was going to be a feature-length film with a couple, like 3 short films instead of like a continuous story. Because I feel like since we're going online, attention spans are not as high as they were. So if you make a film that's like 2 hours, even when I open a film and I see 2 hours on the timeline, I'm thinking, oh my God, will I watch this whole thing? So the idea of making short films and package them in a feature-length package, I feel like that's probably how I'm going to produce my content. Like if I'm making a feature film, it would probably be a couple of different shorts combined together into a feature, because I feel like since we're moving away from cinema, online platforms will work better with that format, not the long films. It will probably be shorter things. I feel like I'm going off topic now. Yeah, but anyways, I haven't yet made any money from my content. But if you ask me where I would like to show my films, it would be cinema, obviously. And since cinemas are kind of dying now, there's really no other option but to go online. But it sucks. It sucks that you shoot a film on an 8K camera and you have people watch it on their phones. You know, it's not what you intend. You put so much detail in there, and then someone won't hear it on the speaker of the phone. Someone won't. There's things you just won't be seen the way they were intended. So I mean, I hope something happens where we come back to cinema at some point. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if we should say cinema is dying entirely, because I'm sure like the lockdown has made things change a lot, and people have adapted to using a lot more of the online platforms for good sometimes, because there's some platforms that allow you to pay. But I was wondering if this shift from cinemas and DVD, which is more of a straightforward way to get money, if you've been thinking about or planning some alternative ways to make money online still, because you for example, Loukman, you have a lot of films on YouTube, and we know that people do try to make money on YouTube. There's not like, if your views go higher, maybe the films could go higher, or maybe selling it video on demand, asking people to pay like 10K each. Are there any ways you've been thinking to make money directly online as the main platform?
Yeah, my plan was to produce a couple of short films as my journey of learning how to make movies progresses. I'll be making these films, and hopefully I'll have a couple of people that will follow me along that journey, people that will grow with me. So by the time I'm ready to have something worth selling, I should, in theory, have enough audience so that when I release a film, I can put a price on it and maybe people can buy it on video on demand. Because I feel like me just jumping out and I'm like, oh, I'm making this film and I'm selling it. There's a number of times I've gone to the cinema to watch Ugandan films, and I'm watching the film and I'm thinking, this should be free. This film, no one should pay for this film. It's just not good. like there seems to be no effort at all. And I know, of course, someone tried, but sometimes you want people to pay for things that are worth paying for. So my idea was make a couple of shorts, grow with the actors, grow with the crew. We all learn how to do things better while doing our other jobs that pay us. And then once our game is up there, and I think this is a stupid way to do it, but this is my way of doing it. I'm not saying that that's how people should do it. So by trying to produce films that sometimes push the boundaries of what people thought we could do, we try to push everything. I feel like it might help us tap into that audience that has always looked at Ugandan movies as poorly made films, as bad films, or not professional enough. So if by making these shorts, I'm able to change those minds, by the time I make a feature film that I want to sell, hopefully I'll have recruited a new kind of audience that like this kind of things that I'm doing. So I'm a little patient with that. Probably happen in 10, 15 years, but when it does happen, I'll still be around, Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, Loukman. Someone who's watching on the live stream has asked a question. It's directed to Patience, but I think all of you should answer it. And the person is wondering, according to your style and your form, who is your audience? Patience, if you could start.
I think you can't generalize an audience, for a filmmaker. I think each film has a different audience because different films are dealing with different things. And for instance, I have a feature film that's coming up, and it's based on like the digital online culture of Kampala, the vibrancy of Kampala nightlife. So I can't probably say that's the same audience like the film we watched yesterday, because it's different. So I think that, and that's why I said in the beginning that it depends on the goals of each film, because each film has different people it's targeting. And I think in the end, we all want to communicate to somebody out there, and it doesn't have to be about the age group or the particular focus of that film, but each film, I think, exposes you to a new kind of audience. I don't know if that's clear enough.
It is clear, to me at least. Eleanor, who would you say is your audience? Who would you identify as your audience?
So I've tried to target different people for different kinds of movies I've done. And I believe as a producer, you're supposed to first know the kind of audience you're producing for before you produce content, because then you know where your consumption might be at the time. Because now, like I personally, with Nabwiso Films, we produce content to change people's lives. And if you've noticed, most of our work has like a topic in it, let's say gender-based violence or low wages at work firms, priorities in life, and all these topics come because we've known at the time in life, it's the urgent need in all different communities in Uganda. And we believe that we're going to have like big audiences coming to watch, because then it's the point of discussion for different communities, and the different communities have bigger populations. So that way, if you're producing content and okay, this is for teenagers, this is for mothers, this is for women, and I know maybe 60% of my population is age, then I can produce right and get the right numbers as well for the viewers.
Nice, thank you. Loukman, how do you identify your audience? Who would you identify as your audience?
I would say people like myself. Because when I was growing up, unlike most families, I grew up in a house where my mom, my dad, and all of us pretty much enjoyed the same kind of films, like extreme violence, action, revenge films, stuff like that. So I watched the same movies my mom watched and my dad, and we pretty much all enjoyed them and always had these discussions after the films. So for me, I I remember the time we would watch wrestling, we would watch boxing, we would watch all these things as a family. And we also watch music. So for me, the way I look at movies is the same exact way I look at all these other things. It all boils down to entertainment. So for me, when I'm making films, my target is anyone that wants to be entertained. You know, if you want anyone that wants to watch a film, because I don't know if I make a movie about a young boy, I don't see why an adult wouldn't be interested in knowing something about. There has to be something that would interest an old man, you know, because they probably can see themselves in this. Or if I made a movie about an old man, I'm sure this old man is not going to live in a vacuum. There'll be something else that a young woman or a young boy or a young whatever, something that they'll see, and it might be of interest to them. So for me, movies are purely entertainment, and if there happens to be a lesson learned, well, that's a plus. That's a plus. But yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, if there's a lesson learned, then perfect. You know. So for me, I think my audience is anyone that wants to be entertained. That's the target that I'm trying to go for.
Eleanor, you want to say something?
Yeah, Loukman said something about anybody who wants to be entertained, but then Loukman, I must say, well, at the end of the day, we need to know who is my target, you know? Because if it's entertainment, I would agree with you, but then what am I entertaining about? Do I want a lesson put out? You're quite different because you do mostly commercial entertainment, while I do educational, informal, like entertainment. But then either way, if we choose our audience before we produce content, I think we get a lot more viewership. I mean, you've seen Hollywood movies that flop because they are put at a time when nobody wants to see that kind of movie. And they've been screened and they didn't get their ticket sales out, but then there are those that have been planned and they have their targeted audience planned out before the production is done. And then that way they have the right audience buying into this movie. So I think I would differ with you with that, because I think you should know your target audience before you produce content.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is not necessarily audience. It's more of like if you're producing a movie about
you broke a little.
Yeah, sorry, someone was trying to call. I was saying what you're saying is mostly timing. So let's say I'm making a movie and it's about something that has like the movies they're making about terrorism, and then September 11th happened, and then they had to postpone those. They had to change the theme because that would kind of hit home, and it's now not the right time to release a movie like this. But where I differ from you is, you see most of these films that Disney releases, like those animated films, like let's say Mr. Incredible, all these films. When they're writing these films, they have adult jokes. They put in jokes that are specifically for adults. As much as the main target on the surface will look like it's for children, which it is for children, but they know that these kids will have to go with parents, and because of that, they make sure that this content, as much as it's aimed for kids, but there's something for pretty much everyone, because if an adult sits down to watch this, it needs to be entertaining for them as well. So that's what I mean when I'm making a film. As much as it might, when I'm making my film, I will have a specific target in mind. I will know that this kind of group will enjoy it, but I will not focus on that group solely. I'll make sure that as much as the film is for them, but I try to make it as entertaining for everyone else it's pretty much me. I think I look at it the same way you look at music. Someone will create a song, a new song, like a new guy. Let's say filmmaker. Someone will create a song, and young kids will like it. Every adult will hate it. And then another young guy will make a song that will still be the same tempo, and it will still be like a booming song or whatever. But even old people will like it. Now, the only difference will be that as much as they're both using high beats, and they're all doing these things that are like high tempo, which you would associate with younger people, but one artist has done something that the other one didn't do. This artist has tried to put some sort of content that he knows old people will be interested in. So when you look at the songs on the surface, you will know that, okay, both of these songs came out in 2020. They are both hip hop. They're both like really fast. But once an old woman sits down and listens to both these songs, they'll choose one. They'll like one, because underneath all that, there's still entertainment and there's still something that works for everyone. You get. So that's how I look at it. And I know what you're saying is true, but I feel like where we're heading into this global village where like content is just there in the space, in the cloud, and people just keep looking through all these billions and billions and billions of videos. So you need to have you need to make sure that your target grows, because you're going to have a child on the iPad choosing content that the parents are going to watch, or you're going to have the parent choosing content that everyone in the household is going to watch, stuff like that. At any given point, something like that is going to happen. And I feel like, for me, entertainment is the key. If it's not entertaining, I'm not interested, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. I want to, there's a comment from the audience, and someone says, cinema is great, though with the pandemic, there's no choice but to use YouTube and other platforms. So that's just a comment from someone. Someone's asking, what is your career motivation? So I think that's a broad question, but I hope you can answer it. Yeah, Loukman, you can go first. What is your career motivation?
Well, I don't know anything else. I don't know. I would have been a dentist if I knew how to pull teeth, but I was born an artist, and this is what I know, and I don't know anything else, unfortunately. So I have to do this. It's not really as much as the other things I would do if I couldn't do this, if I wasn't allowed to do this. But if there's ever a choice between anything else and filmmaking, it will always be filmmaking. I don't, it's not something I chose. It's like, I don't want to say it chose me, but it's kind of like that, you know. I was meant to be doing this, so this is what I will do. I have no choice, you know.
Okay. I'll first say another comment from the streaming people. There's someone who says, I would say a lot of building target audience is more linked to advertising budgets. That's what they think. Patience, what would you say is your career motivation?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to sound cheesy, but I went to drama school because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell stories from a very young age, and that's, you know, and I don't come from the background of producing and advertising and stuff. I come from, you know, the background of storytelling, of writing, and then I went into directing and producing much later. So for me, and that's why I agree with that comment that the person was talking about audience being more of marketing, because I don't think about my audience until my story is written. Like, I write my story first, I deal with it and its issues, and then when it's ready and I'm writing like pitch decks and whatever, that's when I think about, okay, who can we market this to? And then everybody else is like a bonus. But for me, everything is about story. And I strongly believe that stories sort of like come to you. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I do believe it.
That's great. It's not cheesy. It's really great. Eleanor, what would you say is your career motivation?
For me, my career motivation is the fact that we can use film to speak up because we have the freedom of speech and expression. And if I create content, if I create a movie, I can do or say whatever I want in a movie because I want to put it out to the world. And I remember starting our organization, our company, Nabwiso Films. We felt to ourselves, yes, we can entertain, but we wanted to change people's lives through film. And that way we knew there are certain things that you don't talk about just like that amongst people. You know, societal issues that are deemed sacred or some jokes that are deemed private. But with film, there's that freedom. There's that freedom of expression and speech and expression. So my motivation for me is the fact that we can do what we want and you can't hold me accountable for what I've said. All I would say is disclaimer, whatever is portrayed in this movie doesn't affect anybody out there, but it's for the best or it should be addressed. So in due course, I believe film is the best point of expression. And for me, that motivates me a lot to do film. And the fact that you can get to so many people in just one movie or two or a series and have everyone across the globe unite and sit together as family or friends and get to watch content that you've created and then getting that feedback, knowing that people out there are watching and they want more from what I'm doing. So I'm motivated to create more because of the huge fan base I've got so far and the viewers we have so far. I'm motivated to create more. And the fact that I can express myself and put out a lot of societal issues through film and educate and inform at the same time. For me, it's more than even a motivation for my career.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you all to say something as we close because we are running out of time, but someone had a question specifically for Loukman, so I think you'll answer and then just let us know any final words you have to say. But they're asking, what do you plan to do to improve your writing? Like you said earlier, you were planning to do that. So what are you planning to do to improve it?
I'm just watching videos, tutorials on writing, trying to read more because I don't know if I mentioned before, I had severe dyslexia growing up, so it was very, very challenging for me to read, write, you know, stuff like that. So it's actually a miracle that I can write scripts now because I couldn't write before at all. So it's a progress. It's progressive. I'm growing at. I mean, to me, this is the speed I'm supposed to be growing at. But it might not be fast enough for the people watching from the outside. But I think I learned better on the job. So I'm making more films, more shorts, and I feel like I'm learning on the job. I'm improving. I can see the improvement myself, and yeah, hopefully in maybe 4 or 5 films I'll be better. And this is why I'm not that interested in trying to so much to cash out from what I'm making, because I know that I need to first be there. I need to be at the point where it's worth paying for, and I'm learning more by doing.
Great. Anything you want to say, final words about distribution and audience, or have you said everything?
For me, I'll just double down on the fact that at the end of the day, when let's say you're listening to a Congolese song or a French song, you have no idea what's being said, but it will take you to a place and you will get the feeling. You feel, there's a way you will feel, because it doesn't matter what language it's in, there's a feeling. So I feel like when you make a good film, it's the feeling that it gives you. It's not so much about all these things like, oh, what are you telling people? What are you trying to teach, or what are you trying to sensitize? But if it's fun and it's entertaining, and it can, and for like 2 hours, it can take someone out of their life, like out of their reality, and they're no longer the homeless boy, or no longer this type of person, and at that particular time they're happy and they're being entertained. I feel like that's it's a good thing. It's not necessarily always about them learning anything. It's even just escaping your reality for a second is a good thing, and sometimes that's what people need. Yeah.
Thank you. Patience, any final words?
I think my final remark would be to emphasize the beauty and effectiveness of collaboration, because I think when we collaborate, we focus on the things that we are very good at, and we give a chance to other people who are very good at things. For instance, I don't like advertising, I don't like producing, I don't like, thinking about, building platforms for distribution, but I know people who do that. And so I like collaborating with them. I like using their expertise and making it work for my work, instead of trying to do everything and saying like, I have to be a distributor, I have to be a writer, I have to be, I like the liberty and freedom that comes from knowing this is what I'm good at, and can I find somebody out there that's good at this? And I think there are people out there, there's platforms that we can use. So I would say like encourage filmmakers to just look out for people. They exist, they're there, and they can help us as we help them as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Elena?
My final remark would be in regards to content creation or movie production, be it a short film or a feature film. Most of us in Uganda are self-taught, and we've struggled so much to get to the point in life where we are, where we can be able to produce content to the level of having it sold and winning awards globally in different countries. So the fact that we are self-taught as filmmakers in Uganda, I would encourage everybody out there who's creating content or creating film to educate yourself a bit more, to add more to your craft, because the more you add on to your craft, the better content you produce. There are free classes online, there's YouTube, you can Google anything, like, there are many master classes that are free, and sometimes even MultiChoice brings down some master classes here. It's about registering for all these workshops to help you improve your sound quality, your picture quality, your storytelling, script writing, and above all, the more you get educated, the more you know, and the better content you produce. And we've been blessed to have so many people coming into Uganda to have many workshops put out for us. It's about knowing your craft and doing your research and knowing where the workshops will be, where all these tutorials are put out online, so that we can build more on our craft, because then if we have good quality produced, we'll hit many more people globally. That is, getting viewership across the globe. And if you have the dream to start creating content or film, don't give up. It might be hard to start with, depending on the audience and reaching out to people. Advertisement is expensive, marketing is expensive, but it's about starting. And then if you know what you want to do, then the how will come easy, because there's so many people out there you can get to help you out and reach out to many people. Just know your audience, know your craft, and improve every time, every chance you get to grow your craft. Make sure you do, so you can get to create the best quality content. Above all, I'm very grateful for Ngalabi Short Film Festival. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much to the panel. Thank you, Patience. Thank you, Loukman, and thank you, Elena, so much. This was really great. And to the audience for the great questions.